Hello and welcome to your President on Luke's FM 106.5 University of Liberia Radio. We are coming to you from our family campus in the township of Louisiana. My name is Alfonso. Welcome you to this edition of the program. Of course, this is our way of bringing closer the university to you. You have the opportunity to discuss and share thoughts with the president. Whatever information you want as well, the president is here to provide. So we're taking a short break. When we come back, I will talk to UL President, Dr. Lady Makwai. Welcome back and thank you for joining us on UL President Hour today. You will have the opportunity to call in and share whatever concern you have, whether it is a question or some idea as to how you think things can or could be done differently, whatever it is. And one day I'll never share anything. If you're 18, I think it's actually can post more in there for you. All right. So, but welcome. Madam President, let me say good afternoon. Welcome.
Good afternoon. Thank you.
How are you today?
I'm great.
I'm doing the cabinet meeting.
Yes, we had a long cabinet meeting today.
You want to share a few things with us?
Well, we had a single focus, and that was to review the UL bylaws. The charter for the university and the bylaws were established in 1961, that's 65 years ago. And the board has asked for updated versions of those documents. And it's a long process of talking to many stakeholders. Well, I say long process, but it's a process of talking to many stakeholders to get input before we take a revised version to the board. So I started that process today by having a lengthy meeting with the cabinet to review the contents of the 1961 charter and bylaws and to talk through, what should we keep? What should we get rid of? What is there but needs to be changed? And what's not there that's brand new and needs to be added? We went through a real systematic process and we took a look at the entire, 50-page document or however long it was. It was quite a long meeting.
You want to share with us a few things that maybe brought some arguments or maybe that were of interest to the participants?
Sure. I mean, it's not even so much about controversies, but the fact that the document was created at a time when the University of Liberia was very different, and indeed higher education was very different. The Republic of Liberia was very different. The bylaws represent the internal governing document of the university, and they are an addendum that forms part of the charter. The charter is a shorter document that just establishes the university itself and establishes the governance through the board of trustees. But the bylaws governs everything that we do internally from the president on down, and explains, all the offices and all of the officers and all of the constituencies and all of the duties and all of the policies. And, it's quite an involved document. And so just to give one very basic example, the bylaws contain so-called the structure of the university, which is the list of all the colleges, programs, departments, and all of that. It was very outdated. The last time that part was updated was in the 1970s, I think, based on what they had put there. So we have many new departments and programs that didn't exist back then. We've got to change it and add those. But we also had the opportunity to think through, is there anything you want to change? For example, the original bylaws only had two vice presidents, only vice president for academic affairs and vice president for administration. And then the controller was a third, high-level position. Today, we have very many vice presidents and chief officers of varying kinds because the university itself has grown. It was created at a time when the university was probably a few hundred students. Now we're several thousand, almost 30,000 students, almost 3,300 employees. So, it was a different time, different place. But what stays true is the original mission of the university as an educational institution to educate Liberians for national development. So we want to stay true to that while updating for best practices and new laws and all the things that have changed about UL.
So if you were to assign a time or timeline, how long do you think it's going to take?
Well, we talked through a timeline today, actually, a very specific timeline, and we're looking to get this complete in June and July. The board had originally asked for us to give it to them on June 20th, but really the document will only be solid if all of the constituencies, meaning faculty, staff, and students, have an opportunity to give input. So through the vice presidents that govern those different bodies, we're going to have opportunities for people to give input over the next couple of weeks. And that way we will hear from everyone, and I think the board will appreciate that, because they know that in this day and age, universities have shared governance models. It's not just a top-down executive model like maybe it was in the past. So we have to make sure that everybody has a chance to view the document and weigh in. Even though it is solely a board responsibility to update the charter and bylaws, we do it through a shared governance understanding.
Very well. Okay, so with that said, I'd just like you to, assess, right, the overall state of the university. What do you say?
Well, I would say that the state of the University of Liberia is good and improving. One of the things people will know about me by now is that I'm always an optimist. I'm an eternal optimist. I'm a glass half full kind of gal. And also a person always willing to roll up my sleeves to improve anything that I'm involved with. And that's been my approach at the university. Sure, the university still has struggles and issues, but everything that I've been asked to work on, I think we've improved at least a little bit since I arrived. And I would also say that when you're making systems change, which is what I think is really required at this phase of the university's evolution, you start with things that are less obvious that make a big difference. So for example, if you're planting a seed and you know that it's going to grow into a mighty tree over some years, you will get a mightier tree if you prepare the soil. So while you're preparing the soil, people might say, well, why isn't the seed growing? I don't see any tree. But you say, well, I'm improving the soil so that we have the best tree possible later. That's the kind of stage we're in now. The things like rewriting the bylaws, that's fixing the soil. That's getting the soil correct for the seed to grow. The seed is the university itself. It's been growing, but now it's entering a new phase of growth. And so we are preparing the soil by getting the systems in place and other things that will make it do really well in the 21st century.
Wonderful. So, and I like that. You're preparing a system to make it grow.
Mm-hmm.
In the process, there are challenges, of course.
Sure. Always.
How are you managing this?
Well, I manage them as they come. I think that in my first year as president, I was duly informed of the majority of the challenges that the university faces. And now in my second year, I'm still hearing that the same kinds of concerns are there. I think people are aware that we're making progress, but it's not like people are adding new unknown issues to the list. So we are gradually working on our master list of issues, moving everything in a positive direction. One example is, for example, last year was a cry, buses, buses, buses. We need buses, we need buses. So guess what? We've got some buses coming. As I explained last time when we talked, we have now, thanks to the government providing the funding, $2 million, we have an arrangement with the National Transportation Authority to procure a number of buses for the university that will probably be here by the end of this year. And that's progress. That's progress. And if anybody doesn't think it's progress, then I don't know where they're coming from. There are other issues like that where we can say, we started here and now we're here. I just did a retrospective about the armchair situation. We used to have plenty of chairs missing. We still have some chairs missing, but we've had plenty of chairs donations. That's progress, So the issues that people care about, we're making progress. We were complaining about bathrooms. By the end of the summer, we'll have launched 26 new bathrooms, as well as some others to improve. And so, things are changing. They're not overnight. It's not like you're waving the magic wand of AI and fixing everything overnight. We are human beings. We're doing it at the human being speed. But it's getting done.
Okay. So, talking about donations of chairs, maybe you just want to give a update. Voices of the Elders, was forefront of raising some 25,000 chairs.
Yes.
Do we have any new updates?
They give me updates every month, and I don't have it memorized. I always read them, but I couldn't tell you exactly what it is. It's going a little slow right now, but what I talked with them about is doing a renewed push on that campaign during July, during the 26th season, when people are excited about a lot of things to improve the nation. It's a good time for Voices of the Elders, given their orientation towards patriotism and the benefiting the Republic as a whole. It's a time to draw more attention. We'll also have more diaspora people in country during the month of July who might be willing to share some of their overseas wealth with the University of Liberia and with the Voices of the Elders campaign. So, to me, it's ongoing, and it's something that we will get, renewed opportunities to reinvigorate that campaign. But stuff is still coming in.
Okay. So the academic year is almost coming to the middle. So what do you say have been some of the most significant achievements of the university so far?
Well, I would say the academic year is not coming to the middle; it's coming to the end because our
Oh, I'm thinking this semester will be first semester.
no, it's second semester.
Oh, okay,
It's second
so I
semester.
know.
Yeah,
Right.
no, because we're now on a schedule that starts in late August and
Okay.
ends in
So that's going to be a new semester.
yeah, the one that starts in August will be semester one of
Okay.
the 26-27 academic year. This is semester two of the 25-26 academic year.
Oh,
Yeah, things are still a little mixed up because of the switchover. I mean, we've been running the classes of semester one to semester two and so on, but we're going to really kick in with a new regime in August because we're going to be welcoming our first official beginning of the year class of freshmen, since I arrived, our real fresh recruits, and we're going to kick off a lot of new processes. I expect the Solar Oasis to be done by then. I expect the digital student handbook to be available. I expect the new HR manual to be fully enforced. I expect, a number of things that we can kick off. The sports division is going to be ready with its full push, for that recruiting student for the sports and things. So it's going to be like the start of a big new academic year in August.
right. Now, listen to the director of athletics and sports.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just talking about some of the guys that show up for the whole new game.
Yeah.
And he was so excited. Have we now brought this on board? We
Yeah.
want to discover or see the kind of display of
Yeah.
talents that we have.
I spent there for a few minutes. I was only able to do the basketball tip off, but I saw some people playing volleyball. I did in the morning. I saw some people playing football, and I know they had a lot of sports going on, and it looked like people were just having fun and were excited about UL and about sports, and it was just a good feeling. We need more good feeling here. It brought some good feeling.
Yeah. All right. So your 5 E's, part A, is excellence.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, that would mean also quality education.
Sure.
Right. So, and this is something we've been talking about all the time. But I just want to know additional measures, right, that are being put in place to improve
Mm-hmm.
learning,
Mm-hmm.
quality learning, teaching and learning here.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, we always have a number of departments that are looking at their curricula to see where they can improve, although we haven't had a massive push yet on curricular overhaul since I arrived. That is in the strategic plan. It is something that I would like to see us do. Right before I arrived at the university, I was involved with the Higher Education for Conservation program, which was working to improve the forestry and biodiversity curricula at UL. And even though that USAID grant ended midstream after 3 years, we were able to complete the process of improving that curriculum. And I've had a chance not only to talk with the department chair and some of the faculty, but also some of the students who have entered that program, since the process completed. And so, I'd like to see a process like that repeated over and over. And, it's not even just the quality of our curricula, but how well are our graduates able to do. I'm very excited, for example, that one of our honors program graduates, a new alumni, contacted me last night and said, that he's applying for this very prestigious scholarship in Canada, and asked whether I would serve as an endorser. And I was just so excited that he was aiming high, and I knew from having seen his presentation and having worked with him in other capacities that he's extremely capable, that he had a great education in the honors program, and that he's prepared to face the world on an international stage. It made me very proud of UL and proud of him, to be able to put graduates forward. Similarly, the biology students and faculty that I've been working with lately who are really excelling and seeking greater opportunities, I've found people in the lab and scientific world coming forward saying, I want to work with you guys. We were offered several fellowships and exchange opportunities just within the last week. We're going to be sending people out for these opportunities in a very short time. So we have excellence. We're already producing excellence. We just need to make it more and more all the time.
How are you getting support for these kinds of programs? I mean, students reaching out, and you have to make it your duty to make sure that they go out, for greater opportunities.
Yeah.
How are you getting,
You have to hustle for it. You have to hustle for it. For example, I mentioned that I went to Africa Lab Week, and what I did was when I met with Dr. Masaka Fala, who was a famous Liberian lab scientist, just science guy all around, biomedical science, and he said there's a lot we can do together. He said there's a lot of opportunities out there. You do your part, I'll do my part, and we'll put some things together. And he said, come to Africa Lab Week, bring your best students and faculty there. Let's let people start circulating and networking. And as a result of that circulating and network at that 1 3-day conference, we came out with it with 4, 5, 6 slots for people to go to places. They aren't full degree programs, but they're like Some are 2-week programs, some are 6-month programs. You know, people who are really trying to improve their biomedical lab skills and things, they got opportunities that people say, come on down, we'll pay for your room, board, flight, everything. You know, so it's just about getting out there. I've always told people to raise funds or to develop partnerships, you got to be out and mixing and mingling, and you got to build those relationships. It's not like you just call people and they do it. You have to go build those relationships, and that's what I've been doing.
Okay. So we all know one of the things that make university great is this thing about research and publication.
Yes.
If you like, you can add innovation.
Mm-hmm.
So I just want to know how the university is, you know, kind of promoting research and innovation among, you know, faculty,
Absolutely.
Vis-a-vis students.
Yeah, there's a few different ways. And again, I'm going to take you back to my conversation with Dr. Fala because it's been very influential. When I shared with him my vision for developing UL Ready, which is research, entrepreneurship, development, innovation, which is going to be a support unit for research, development, innovation, and entrepreneurship activities at UL, he caught the fever. He was like, this is a great vision. I want you to share it with the other people in Africa Lab Week. So I had a chance to meet with a group of people and roll it out. And he said, you know, I'm going to help you find ways to resource this. There are people that would really appreciate this vision that you're putting forward because they know what it takes to do research. They know what kind of supports are needed, and they know where the resources are that can help us put it together. So what I've done is I've put that plan in our strategic plan, and I've begun sort of thinking through like what kind of people we need and who can we transfer, who do we have to get from other places to really operationalize this thing. And I've also started putting my hat out for getting external expertise to help us do the professional development that's needed to make all of the roles that unit would require to be highly functional. So, you know, we're at the seed stage, but we're going to build this great research support unit. That's one thing. So the other thing is...
Sorry, before you go to the other thing, I'd just like you to share with our audience, what is that idea? This entrepreneurship.
The UL Ready.
Yeah.
Okay, so it has 4 components. The research component is the part that supports researchers to do their basic or applied research. So if you're going to be a researcher, particularly a researcher with funded research, you need support for things like researching grant opportunities that are available, putting grant applications together. Once you apply for a grant and you get the grant, then you need someone to help you write the grant contract, because grants have to be contracted. Then you need somebody to manage and help you do what's called post-award. There's pre-award and post-award services that are often offered at research universities. So pre-award is everything that helps you get the grant, and post-award is everything that happens after you get the grant. There's grant-specific accounting practices that we need to have personnel who are doing, because grants don't just always fall on the academic year. They're not just predictable like regular funds that you would get from the government. And also, they have very specific stipulations. Most funders say you have to do it this way, you got to record it that way, you got to give us this data and this date and all that. And if you don't do it, they'll just pull it back. So you need people, besides the researcher herself or himself, who are qualified and knowledgeable to take care of all that stuff for you, so you can just focus on the research. So that's the research portion. But then once you have completed the research, you need to publish it, because the only way you're going to get scientific credibility is if you publish it in a peer-reviewed journal or a peer-reviewed book. And so there are things like writing seminars, and there's also seminars on how to get grants. There's seminars on how to develop a publishable paper for different disciplines. So we need to hold these seminars so that our faculty are constantly getting professional development that increase their chances of getting their work published.
So you share that, you know, idea with Fala.
Yes.
He's like, oh, I feel like on top of the world. So that is also indicating to me that you've been kind of, you know, discussing it with your co-workers.
Sure.
And of course your faculty. What the excitement like?
Well, you know, the time that I really shared it with faculty was during our focus groups during the strategic planning period. So we talked about it. I haven't talked to them about it again lately, except for, you know, a few the people that were.
And so at the time, how did they see it?
You know, I think that the people who were the hardcore researchers said we really need this. And I mentioned that, you know, one particular highly successful faculty researcher came to me and said, please, when is this thing going to be ready? Because I got more opportunities than I can handle. I need the help.
Wow.
And I was like, how fast can I help you? Because, you know, once you're on a roll, you want to stay on that roll, because the more grants you get, the more grants come to you, and it just becomes a big spiral until you have plenty. So I don't want to hamper our faculty. I want to accelerate them. But you didn't give me a chance to talk about the other aspects,
fine.
because it's not just research.
Yeah.
Once you've done the research, you've done the publication, you've established the facts of whatever you did research on, then there's often opportunities to engage in what's called development innovation, which is translating your research findings into some kind of product or process that's marketable. And then entrepreneurship, in turn, is when you turn that product or service into a business. So we want to have a unit at UL that helps people go through the whole process. So if you come up with a great research idea that could turn into, let's say, a new drug or a new medicine, or something that could come up into a new type of equipment or an invention, how can you go from your research all the way to creating a product that is then sellable? Because once it's sellable, you can become a business, a job creator, and you help expand the Liberian private sector. So we need to help our researchers be able to do all these things as well as our students. So there will be entrepreneurship education, there will be development and innovation help for things like patents and other kinds of intellectual property protections, and just all the things. It's going to be one stop for our researchers and our budding entrepreneurs.
Okay. So talking about innovation, one day I had gone to the Uniports,
Mm-hmm.
To do stuff there, and then I saw an aircraft.
Mm.
Yeah,
Mm.
built by a student here,
Mhm.
from I think the engineering college.
Yeah.
So the explanation to me at the time was, I think I need to make a follow up.
Mhm.
That the guy was now working to see whether he could lift that aircraft.
Mm-hmm. Isn't that great?
Yeah, very great.
Yeah.
So I wonder what kind of support, right, the university is,
Mm-hmm.
giving to these kinds of students.
Sure. Well, I mean, that's the thing. Having this innovation hub is so important to our budding scientists, inventors, robotics people, and all of those, because they need a space where they can go tinker. They need a space that understands how the inventing mind works. And, Unipod is a type of innovation hub. All over the world, universities and even some cities in different areas have innovation hubs that attract inventors, researchers, all the great minds that come together to make all these advances in society. So UL needs its own, and that's our Unipod. We have all the different maker spaces and things there, but we also, design space, collaboration space. We also have this agreement with UNDP, which will allow us to extend to a more advanced innovation center in the future, sometime during I think it was a 5-year, 3-year MOU, but however much it is, we can build an even better innovation center that will incorporate the Unipod, but go beyond it. But if you don't have the facilities for inventors, they can't invent. If you don't have the things they need in the spaces where they can tinker and be around other people, they need to be able to follow their scientific passion. The university is the place that should be supported.
077-277-288, 077-277-288, 0770-338461, 0770-338461, or 0886-417932. 0886-417932. Those are numbers you can call to be a part of your president. I'll be president of the University of Liberia, studio. Whatever your concerns or issues are, you can call and seek some clarity. Now, with all of these plans, we still have the strategic plan,
Mm-hmm.
with the board of trustees.
Mm-hmm.
What's the word?
Well, we're still waiting for the completion of the process with the strategic planners, that they said we're going to give us the costing plan. But, let's be realistic. The strategic plan is already underway. I mean,
Yeah.
we're already doing it. We can't wait.
But apparently it's not being observed fully. Because
Right. I haven't taken it on the road because to really I've shared the ideas with people, but I can't formally take it on the road until the board approves it. But I think that people are already aware of some of the things that we're trying to do, and they're things that we would do with or without a strategic plan. They're just things we would do because the university needs them. So that's what we're doing.
Let's talk a little about student welfare and support services.
Mm-hmm.
How is the university investing, especially so we have a new dean?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I've had many conversations with the new Dean of Student Affairs, Dean of Students. She's Vice President of Student Affairs and Dean of Students.
Yeah.
And she's, she's really kind of reorganizing the Student Affairs office and, upgrading some of the student welfare aspects there. For example, from the mental health standpoint, she's, kind of rehabbing, how do you call it? She's fixing up the counseling service, right? because previously it was primarily focused on career and religious counseling, but now it's going to include mental health counseling. So she's working on upgrading that. Also, in terms of students' economic well-being, we're expanding or strengthening the office of, I call it work study, internships, student travel, and career services. Because it's covering all that stuff. It's getting off the ground under her leadership, and we've expanded sports greatly. Sports to me is a well-being thing, even though people think of it as fun and competition. I also think of it as health and wellness, because when you move in your body, you're contributing to health. So that's student well-being to me as well. We're rebuilding student life as something that's more rich and varied, and filled with opportunities for students when they're not in class. So yeah, all those efforts I think are increasing student well-being.
This office is going to be huge, and too many good things are coming on board from what you said explain. I wonder if the students are excited. I mean, it's obvious, they will always go for that. But the other ones that are coming, are you getting any information? Are they excited?
I say the students, they fall into three camps. One camp of students is, I'm excited, I love it, this is great, thank you, Madam President. The other group of students is, Dr. McProblem, everything is bad all day, every day, and so are you. And then the middle group is, I'm too busy studying and running my life to even pay attention to either of those things, and just here I am. So all three of those groups are interacting at any one time. I love all of them. They're all my students. They're all who I'm here for. And I was so thankful last week to spend an entire day with students, because I had a student town hall in the morning with the Dean of Students office, and I had a President Student Advisory Council meeting in the afternoon, and it was just great to be with students all day long, hear what's on their mind, talk with them, share with them some stuff, teach them some things. It was great. So I love the students, and whether you love me or hate me, we get in there. So it's all good.
So these three categories of people you just named.
Yeah.
It's possible to do something to have, say, all of them go one way?
I mean, that's under the Lord's domain. I don't really know. But everybody wants something, but you have different personalities. Some people are, like I say, some like me. Some people are glass half full. Some people are glass half empty, and some people are like, I don't even have a glass. And so I hope everyone will go in the same direction. But in life, people never do all go in the same direction. It's just, life is always like that. So as long as I know that I'm doing the right thing for the university and for its constituency and its purpose, which is education and national development, I feel good about it.
All right, 077-277-288, 077-277-288, 088-641-7932, 0770-338461. I numbers you can call. You can also, those of you watching, via the social media, you can send your concerns. Just in case you don't want to call, you can send your comments. Our man will. Somebody's trying to. I don't know. I hold the phone already. Hello. How you doing?
I'm okay. Who you?
Okay. Your name and where are you calling from?
Yeah, I'm calling from
All right. Welcome, Samuel.
Yeah, my point I have is to thank you so much for the program. And thank you so much for the book and the personality. So I really have that love. Well, my point I have is to every 3 months, or after 3 months or 2 months, honestly, will go on and featuring our business and people into other places. And in the other places, we're not getting those people on the other places. So that's where the other people who are together like this.
Okay. You talk about credential audits.
Yes, you don't have to be represented. They control say they're everything there. They control say, they Friday, before again, who they control that. They said people do that. If you don't go to tell your family that all your handicap, you guys have to do. And they say, and they know that people are ready to do it. So when they got that other people, they don't know what's going on. She was here, all the time, all the videos about the type of person.
All right. Thank you. 077-277-288, 077-277-288, 088-641-7932. Better still call on 0770-338461. Yes, Madam President, you got a question, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that let me explain this from a few different angles. For one thing, the General Accounting Commission, Government Account, what is the GAC? I forget what it stands for. The GAC is the General Auditing Commission has the responsibility for auditing all the government entities, and in the UL Charter and Bylaws, it states that the board should request an audit from the GAC annually for the university. And so that is our chief audit that we are statutorily responsible to conduct. We're a little bit behind on those audits right now because the one that we just got recently was for the years 2022 and 2023, and it was a 2-year audit, not a 1-year audit. In that, there was a head count and some other lists of variables that the GAC audits. And that one, when I originally arrived here as president, I expected to receive that report in February, which was the month after I started, but we just got it for a variety of reasons, which are understandable. So that is something we should expect to do every year. We still have to catch up, but we want an audit every year because an audit tells us what we're doing well and things we need to improve on across a variety of variables. In terms of the credential audits and the head counts of 2025, we had many different entities from the Ministry of Finance to the National Commission on Higher Education to the internal audit agencies to the GAC, all looking at UL saying, we think you have problems with your payroll, we think you have ghost employees, we think you have inefficiencies that you haven't addressed, we are going to come in and count you ourselves. So we had multiple entities for their own reasons coming in and counting UL employees. However, most of those organizations did not give a report back to UL or a usable set of data. So they did whatever they did with their data. I don't know where it is, but I relied on what the GAC produced when they gave it to us in their report that came through in March. And so we were able, fortunately, because of different information we got and our own internal look at our own data, to remove many ghost names and people who had been deceased or left the job for other reasons, as well as to get some clarity on people who were traveling for study leave and things of that nature. So we did quite a bit of payroll cleanup. We still occasionally find names that are incorrect, either they're designated to the wrong department or they've changed jobs recently or whatsoever. So that process will forever be ongoing, but we did a heavy lifting as of last year. With regard to the credential audit, we have one more on the administrative side, one more on the academic side. We had kind of made some efforts to do that last year, but they were dead in the water for a variety of reasons. However, the National Commission on Higher Education is currently undertaking a very thorough faculty audit, and the HR department at UL is currently undertaking a major review of all of the positions and duties of the jobs at UL so that we have a very clear understanding of what each job duties are, what the qualifications are to hold that job, what the requirements are of the position, and what the salaries are for people who are new or entry level, mid-level, and senior in that position, as well as the qualification for promotion. So once that's done, then we'll have a sound foundation for doing more of an audit on the administrative side of the different positions. We know that some people at UL are in positions that they aren't ideally qualified for, or they may be overqualified for some position that they're in or underqualified for some position that they're in, and ultimately we'll rectify all those things. But before we can do that, we got to have a clear system of all the positions and their respective attributes. That's one of those things I said before, you're fixing the soil so the seed can grow. You don't want to start trying to make the seed grow until the soil is correct. So we're getting our soil correct by getting our HR data fixed up.
Right. Okay, so but part of this audit you was talking about it, some of the information came in from internal audit because at first when it came, we heard GSE, in fact 2 of ours before,
right?
And so, but then when they got there, they got to know that the request came from internal audit, even though they were part of the most recent process, they still called them to say, they didn't have any information.
Right. Well, the records aren't always up to date, and so, especially because a lot of our records here aren't digital, they're manual and manually kept, they're paper, they're file cabinets, they're not online, right? But not in a database. So we're building those databases up, but there's going to be errors. There's going to be times when we don't have the information. When we did the initial review of all the folders in our HR, some people were missing information, documents in their folder. So all these processes are leading to things getting corrected. People shouldn't worry. I mean, if you're somebody who's been coming to work, doing your job, then everything should be okay. Just get your documents in order. If you're somebody that hasn't been coming to work or you've just been playing UL, then it's not going to be good for you. But the people who are doing the right thing, everything is going to be great.
Great. 077-277-288-077-288-0770-338461 or 0886-417-932. Since you're talking about document business, let's just, continue with this HR. I just like to know what the university is doing, to promote development, faculty and staff development.
So you mean professional
Yeah,
development?
professional development from, the HR.
Right. Well, one of the things we're doing is we're starting conversations about an annual performance management system, because by regulation we are supposed to have an annual performance management system or annual review of all the employees by their managers. But we have an opportunity to kind of redesign the system. And I really love the idea of 360 reviews, which mean you're reviewed by your boss, you're reviewed by the people who answer to you, and you're reviewed by your peers, so that you get an input from every angle. Some people are very good at working with their bosses, but they're horrible to the people underneath them. Other people have it the other way around. They have a hard time with their boss, but they do well with their peers or the people who answer to them. So, we want to do that as a way of making performance management a part of the routine culture in the workforce for the University of Liberia.
All right, so the president won't be here too long today, so we will give her a chance to go maybe just by 5 minutes to 5. But in the meantime, whatever concern you have, you can call us on 077-277-288, 077-277-288, or 0886-417-920770-338461. You during the week had a meeting with or say you had gone to NASCA. What did you
Yes.
go for?
Well, we went to learn more about what the University of Liberia needs to do to be fully compliant with NASCORP, so that any of our retiring employees can be enrolled. And what we learned was that the governing law for retirement matters at this time for everybody in the formal sector is the NASCORP Act of 2016, which overrides some of the provisions of the Decent Work Act of 2015, particularly with regard to retirement, as well as some social welfare provisions. So we were able to learn more about what are the actual policies on retirement age and months of years of service, and also the process for people to be enrolled with NASCORP. And NASCORP has its own formula for calculating people's pension percentage. So we just got an earful. We learned a lot of useful information that will influence our ability to more successfully work with retirements at the University of Liberia.
Were you also able to discuss this remittance thing?
Yes, we talked about it. We learned that we're not the only ones that are having some issues with remittance of the full thing. So basically, employees contribute 4%, and then employers are supposed to contribute 6%, 4 of which is for the employee and 2% of which is for social welfare programs. And a lot of employers in Liberia have had a hard time mobilizing their 6%. But the NASCORP is still required to pay the pensions of pensioners who have fulfilled the requirements as individuals, and their 4% has been received. And so they gave us a list of all the people at UL who are enrolled within NASCORP due to having signed up for Social Security numbers and so on. I mean, it's a long list. It's multiple pages. I haven't gone through it person by person, but we're going to compare that with what we have to make sure, do we really have a lot of people who we can't enroll in NASCORP, or do we not? That's the next step based on this meeting that we have. And if we have people who can't enroll, then we need to go back to the table and talk about a process for how we can get them on. It is true that we still have those arrears and that they expect us to do something about them, and I'm sure we will, but we'll have to do a kind of phased plan for repayment because the bill is high and our resources are still pretty slim here.
Well, so, and that has been, one of the major concerns of employees of the university, to know as to whether the university is actually relating its component of this. Hello?
Yes, I'm doing a thing. I will ask the project for you.
Yeah, Samuel, yeah.
Yeah, all of them coming from president. According to the process, what is going to happen this coming? buses are something with just for students or they'll be buses for staff or for to explain that any traffic track, the driver that will tell that no buses who would use our own money that we're working for, we talk our them, we know that no country will put it buses on the so what is not what a bus will get for staff.
But sometimes the money you take as pay is, I mean, part of it should be able to facilitate your work. The money you work for as your pay, part of that money should be able to facilitate your work too now. All right, so the person will respond to your concern. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
You know, I think we really need to do an assessment, a survey of how many of our employees and how many of our students actually want to take buses and where they live, you know, and when they come to the university. We need data. This needs to be a data-driven thing. We can't just throw spaghetti at the wall in terms of just say get a million buses and just send them wherever. We need to do this scientifically, you know, and so the buses will depend on how many they are. I don't know how many buses $2 million is going to buy, but once I know, we can decide, you know, how many get allocated to students, how many get allocated to employees. I do plan to reserve one bus for the sports operation, and so you know, we'll decide. But I think before the buses arrive, we really need to do the survey. We need to know where people live, who's going to ride, who's not going to ride, what can we reasonably do. I will say this, I don't want to overpromise, because we're a community of, I keep saying, you know, 34,000 people, and there's no way in the world that everyone's going to be happy with the bus situation. You know, we're the size of a small city, and a small city would have an entire fleet of buses that's huge. We're never going to have that huge, you know, set of buses that every single person going to get home delivery. But I want us to do the best we can with whatever we have. I want to make sure that as many people as possible benefit, and that we do it in a practical, cost-effective way, because given that people don't want to pay exorbitant fares, we have to do it as economically as possible, and we all have to work together on that economizing.
Talking about doing survey, well, with the workforce, it could be a bit easy to do as competent students.
Well, it all depends on your methodology. You know, I'm a social science researcher, so social science research does seem hard to me.
All right. So one thing, you know, people always bring to my attention when I'm walking around is this thing about pensioners' pay.
Mm-hmm.
You know, too many times they cry that the UL does not take that pension money.
Well, I hadn't heard that. I know that we have many people on the payroll that are currently receiving their pensionable pay through UL because they hadn't been rolled onto NASCORP. After we do this check of the list that they gave us, some of them may be able to roll over. You know, one of the things that Honorable DeWitt von Balmu said when I met with him was that people should not assume that they're not on the NASCORP roll. They should check. You know, he said too many people have rumors about whether or not they're on the list at NASCORP. They need to actually physically check if they're on it, because he said a lot of people are and they don't know they are. So, you know, UL is going to play the middleman on this and, you know, take the list that he gave us, compare with our roles, and see who's who and what's what. You know, I will say this, though, that, you know, wages in Liberia are low. Pensions are low. It's hard to get by on the things that, you know, are there, but it is still Social Security. It is still something that's meant to make people able to survive after retirement. And, you know, over time, we should encourage our community to, you know, do long-term planning for their retirement. It's not always easy, but there are ways to go about it. And also, I want UL itself to do more to create stronger pensions for our employees. And I think that when we get to the stage of doing some revenue generating activity, which we will get to as we build up the university city, we will have opportunities to improve our pensioners' pay ourselves.
All right, so two last concern first. I mean, this one comes from somebody wants to know in clear terms as to whether the university is, you know, committee is part of this social welfare fund.
Do you mean, are we committing to the arrears?
No, not
to
the
which thing?
arrears,
Which
whether,
part?
I mean, the social welfare, you know, money. So this 4% you just talk about, right?
Yes.
So whether the UL is actually remitting it to NASCORP.
My understanding is that we are, but there was a tripartite arrangement between UL, NASCORP, and the Ministry of Finance, and it has been unclear to me who did what over the last several years in this situation of accumulating arrears. It could have been us, it could have been MFDP, it could have been whoever. I don't really know. I'm still trying to get to the bottom of it, quite honestly. But the bottom line is we need to become compliant. All right, we need to pay our 6%. We need to pay our 4%. We need to do what the law requires, and we need to start doing that as soon as possible. So that's the conversation that I'm going to have with the BFO.
Okay, so currently the academic year is ending. What's the top priorities?
The top
for the remaining
priority.
of the year?
You know what? My top priorities: get everybody over the finish line, keep the academic calendar on course, finish up the Solar Oasis so we can launch it and enjoy it, get our other programs underway, get these buses here. It's just a matter of following through on the things we've started. That's my biggest goal for the year, is to follow through and see as many students as possible both graduate and continue their education with a continuous academic calendar. That's what I'm looking for.
Thank you, Madam President. Is there anything further you want to say before we let you go?
Well, thank you. I've enjoyed our conversation today, and I'm very excited about all that lies ahead, as usual.
Thank you very much. She's the president of the University of Liberia, Dr. Lady Makwaya. She's been here on your president. I will be back next Monday at 5 minutes past 4. Until that time, we want to say thank you for your listening role, and those of you who were watching, I don't know, before we go, do we have any comment from our page? Okay, so no comment from the page. So we now call your day.